Right.
Your
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this April 17th meeting of the New York State Commission on Ethics and Lobbying in Government. I'd like to call this meeting to order and turn it over to our Executive Director, Mr. Sanfilippo, to ask him to acknowledge a quorum and then any other issues we need to consider before we get started.
Thank you, Chair Davey. Let me state that this meeting is being held pursuant to in accordance with the provisions of Section 94 of the Executive Law, as well as in accordance with the provisions of the state's open meeting law, the conference room of the Commission's offices in Albany at 540 Broadway, which we are using for today's Commission meeting, as well as the Commission's conference room at 25 Beaver Street in Manhattan, are open to the public during public session, and the public session is also being live streamed, and the link can be found on the Commission's website at ethics.ny.gov. And yes, we have a quorum present here in Albany.
Great, thank you. We'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the March 20th, 2024 meeting. Is there such a motion? Commissioner Cardozo, seconded by Commissioner Caraballo. Any question, any revisions or changes? All right, all those in favor of approving the minutes, please say aye.
As corrected, because we did receive some corrections by email, and so those will be incorporated in the final version that gets posted.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion to approve the minutes as corrected, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, no. The ayes have it. Motion carries. So we'll turn it over for an operation update.
Thank you. The operations update can be found under tab B in the agenda box. As we've been doing for a year now, the report includes, in addition to relevant activities, figures for the most recent months. In this case, March of 2024, column 1. It also includes comparisons to the prior month. In this case, February, column 2, and the comparable monthly and year-to-date periods in 2023, columns 3 and 5, which covered the period January through March 2023, and the current year-to-date is in column 4. Call your attention to page 1, which has the figures for the investigations and enforcement division. The Commission received a total of 13 tips, complaints, and referrals. In March, commissioners received notice of these in their weekly notifications. Total of 14 matters were closed, 4 carried over from prior agency, 10 code matters, and then there's an ending pending and open investigations, numbers of 141 pending and 46 open, respectively. A net change in the overall total of -1. In addition, 3 investigations were opened, and you also received notification of those in the weekly notification. And the comparisons to the prior month, 144 pending and 44 open, respectively, for February. And in February, 11 pending matters. 3 open matters. 11 pending matters and 3 open matters were closed. And again, 13 matters were received. I'm going to turn it over to Brian Weinberg, our Director of Investigations and Enforcement, for anything he wishes to add about activity in the prior month.
Good morning. Just want to note, as you can all see, and it's a testament to the staff's work.
Brian, can you hold on 1 second? Can you just hold on? Can we turn it up?
Yep, I just did.
Okay, go ahead, Brian. Sorry.
No, it's okay. I'll try yelling.
No, please
Staff. Okay. Just want to say also the increase in staff has been helping. We're getting more 15-day letters out. And we're also pivoting to notifying past recipients of 15-day letters that their cases are still pending with us, all with an eye towards either settlement or noticing cases for hearing in the next coming months.
Thank you. Thank you. Page 2, report from the Ethics Division. In March, a total of 117 guidance requests were received. That's compared with 86 in February, and 62 a year ago, in March of 2023. A very substantial increase. I'm going to ask Michael Sander, Director of Ethics, talking about that increase. Michael?
Thank you. The guidance unit had its busiest month that I'm aware of in its history, with 117 total requests in March. I'm not really sure why. It's a substantial increase. I noticed that the increase covered every category of inquiry, most notably outside activities. And it does seem to be part of a pattern, because January was also a very busy month for us. So this could be a result of our increased training, or it could just be part of the regular up and down pattern.
All right, any questions? Thank you. Lobbying report is on page 3 of the operations report. You'll see that there has been an increase in the number of registered lobbyists. As of the end of March, we had 8,356. That compares with just over 8,000 in February, and also an increase in the number of clients from 4,098 from. It's now 4,098. It was 3,971 in February. And again, there's a change that you can see against the comparable period last year. Getting into the second year of biennial period, and there was an uptick in inquiries to staff from 2,499 in February all the way up to 3,562. In March, so we're seeing an increase there. I'm going to ask Carol Quinn, our Director of Lobbying, anything to add?
Right, we're thinking of adding this stat to this monthly operations report going forward, but just to give you an idea, so since March 15th was the bi-monthly filing deadline, so in the past month, we received about over 5,100 bi-monthly reports. That's very typical. So staff is working on those. We'll get another influx of about that amount next month, because it's every other month, obviously. And that's something we might show going forward in the stats, just so you can kind of see the influx of filings in and out. The other thing we're working on right now is the lobbying data for the annual report. Part of that involves trying to fix discrepancies between a lobbyist and the lobbyist client's reported reported amounts. And so just to give you a clue about that, we had about 531 discrepancies from 2023 of over $10,000 between what the lobbyist and the client are reporting. So we work on getting that, fixed for the annual report numbers to make them as accurate as possible. And the only other thing I have to add is obviously the proposed lobbying regulations that you approved last month for going forward with the state register. That was published on April 10th, and so far no comments, but the comment period goes through June 9th, I believe. So.
Right, and those will be on then for adoption at the June meeting, the proposed amendment. If
we don't get any substantial comments that require substantial revision, correct?
Good, thank you. Any questions, Commissioner? Next page 4, financial disclosure statements. You'll see that there were no failure to file notices issued. Those were taken care of in February. The number of outstanding filings as of the end of March were 49 as compared with 351 in February. So very, very substantial decline. You'll see in the footnotes that most of the notices of delinquency, there was 27-inch that were issued in March, or to the academic community. There were 3 non-academics in those 27 notices of delinquency, which are also posted on the website. So it's a very, very substantial change, and we're making good progress on that. I'm going to ask Melinda Funk, our Deputy Director of Financial Disclosure Status, to update those figures a little bit to present, if you have those numbers.
Good morning. So in April, of the 49 that were outstanding in March, 31 resolved their delinquent filings, and I issued 18 notices of delinquency to those remainders. As of right now, as of today, I have issued 190 notices of delinquency, and 88 people have resolved those delinquencies, and we still have 102 outstanding that I'm trying to resolve and helping Lori since it's moved over to her unit.
Melinda, thank you. Commissioners, any questions? Thank you. Page 5, we have the training statistics. And there are some updates to those. You'll see that we're continuing to improve the numbers and the participation both in live trainings that are being conducted, as well as in the use of the on-demand comprehensive training course that has been available since last fall. And I'm actually going to ask Megan Hennigan, the Deputy Director of Education, and Marlena Diaz, if we have them, to provide the updated figures.
Morning, everybody. So I had actually explained to the chair a few minutes ago that, and I think I've said this before, the numbers are kind of rolling because people don't necessarily give us them all at once or for January. So we keep getting numbers and email folks to get them. And so the numbers are actually a lot more than what we put in the MOR when it was issued to you. So for example, in March, the monthly count is higher in a couple of different categories. So number of agency CETC sessions conducted is actually 286, and I think the number was around 85. Number of employees who received live CETC agency training at their agencies is approximately 5,500. And then the combined total of workforce members who completed training, the live and on-demand, is 17,548. And that's just for March. The February figures also change, and once we get our quarterly figures together, which will go out in our report, the number will be even bigger. So we wanted to give you those updated figures.
And what's the year to date again on both live and reported?
So far for Q1 stats, it's looking at around nearly 40,000 employees have received some form of training, whether online or through live remote training.
Right. Thank you.
Commissioner.
I just was, we discussed this at one of the other meetings. Do we know what the impact of this training is in terms of, we have people showing up, but do we get comments from them? Any qualitative judgment that the people who've taken the training give back?
Yeah, we do. There's actually a questionnaire, in effect, or a comment that's requested at the end of each training, and Marlena and Megan can give you more texture on their collection and analysis of that information.
So we've actually been evaluating folks on two different tracks, right? So number one, we're evaluating through our employee CETC evaluations. So as Sandy had mentioned, after the end of each one of our training sessions, each one of these employees, they go in, they provide us with some feedback. In addition to that, and I'll let Megan speak to that, we also issued a survey to our agency users, which comprise of our ethics officers, training compliance officers, and agency contacts, where we actually polled them to find out information with respect to what are the topics of interest, what do they want to hear more from us on, in other areas.
Right. So there are about 185 ethics officers, we estimate, for all the agencies, and we got about 90 back, which according to statistics is pretty good when you send a survey out to a large amount of people. It's around 50%. We're thinking about issuing it one more time to see if we can get some stragglers, but we've gotten some good baseline information.
Just slightly related, I think a few months ago, Claudia's committee recommended that commissioners might participate in the training, and I wonder if that has advanced in any way.
No, we haven't moved forward on that.
Okay.
In fact, we haven't met to move forward on that, and because of some issues we need to be.
Okay, I withdraw the question.
Commissioner Edwards and then Commissioner Gronoway.
I do want to point out that I spoke with the executive director recently with regard to the surveys. Number one, I did get a chance to see the responses prior to this meeting, and it was very helpful. I did not, nor did my committee, get the opportunity to see it beforehand, and we talked about, as we move forward, that change. And the surveys that's being discussed now with regard to performance, we have not seen. And I think it would be helpful if we saw it before. It's this, that we at least have the understanding of what the staff is trying to present to the public when to the respondents prior to it being released. And we're not getting that right now.
Mr. Groenewegen?
I'm glad to hear that we're getting all the survey data back. I think it would be helpful if we could see a written analysis, or at least have a more complete oral analysis of what exactly they're finding and what those results are.
It's important. Staff is planning to do exactly that. There's a preliminary count that Commissioner Edwards has said, we're waiting to collect some additional data and spend some more time with it. And then we'll do a full presentation.
Thank you.
For the commissioners. I should also add, unless there's some additional questions on that point. I'm sorry. I should add that phase 2 in the development of the system that we're building along with ITS to provide for scheduling, monitoring, tracking of training is moving along well. The target for rolling that out in that will address some of the issues we have with late reporting. Everything will go into the system immediately. As state workers take the course, the training will be reported and reported to us. If they're not taking it, the late notices and so on go to them, go to their agencies, and we'll have more or less real-time tracking of those statistics, as well as the ability statewide, and it's a heavy lift, but statewide, to keep an eye on the entire system. The other thing to point out is that with the revised numbers that Megan and Marlena have provided, we are on track to meet our goal by the end of this year, 2024, having every member of the workforce take at least one course, at least an on-demand or a live training. With the goal then, by the end of 2025, of having the entire workforce have completed the entire cycle. That is taking the live and taking one refresher course, not necessarily in that order in this interim period, but with a total of almost 40,000 for the first quarter of the year. We're not quite there, but we're approaching the figure that we're looking of getting about 130,000 individuals trained
for this year.
For this year. For this year, we hit our target of about 165,000 for 2023. So it's moving along. It's a great tribute, not just to our staff, which is doing a phenomenal job, but the ethics officers and the trainers at the 380 some odd agencies who are responsible for getting the live training done.
Excellent. More questions on this? Comments? All right. Thank you.
Next, we would like to audit and review page 6. You can see from the statistics that random audits of lobbying filings are continuing apace. 53 in March as compared to 58 in February. Completed audits, random audits, and lobbying filings, as well as 106 targeted FDS, financial disclosure statement reviews were completed. Gareth, let me ask if Gareth has anything to add to the statistics.
Yes, Judge. Thank you, everyone. Good morning. As you can see, our numbers vastly improved, especially when we're talking about the targeted reviews that we've conducted and the letters we sent out to the filers. This month last year, for example, we completed 49 targeted reviews, and this year we've more than double that. This time of year, we did 106 in March. And that was primarily because of staff. And I think last year, this time, we just added a new analyst I believe, or we're looking to add a new analyst, and that took some time to get that person trained up. Now that person is trained up, and so we're humming along. So all our numbers has vastly improved over from last year to this year. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I did say Gareth is our deputy director for audit and review. And that's a remarkable accomplishment, nearly doubling in the first quarter the number of targeted reviews completed. It's a real tribute. It is, as Gareth said, we're looking at augmenting the staff further, and there's some other reorganizational steps that we'll be discussing going forward as well.
Right. Thank you.
Any questions? Thank you. And 8.7, public information office. As you can see, the numbers of records access requests we're receiving are continuing to grow this year. Directionally, about the same as last year. It varies from month to month. Emily DeSantis, our Chief Information Officer, Director of Public Information, is running the FOIL unit, and as you can see, the numbers of documents that are being produced is quite substantial at this point. Emily, anything to add?
Just with the team we have in place, you can see just by the number of responses we sent out year to date this year versus last year, we're getting the responses out a lot more quickly than previously because we have that team in place now, where last year we didn't have a team quite in place. So it seems to be working well with the team.
Questions, comments? So are we now up to budget?
If we tab C, you can see that we completed, this is for fiscal year just completed, 2023-2024. We completed the fiscal year essentially as we expected with a surplus. I will say that next year is going to be different. This past year, the surplus is largely the result of just the time it takes to recruit for the agency. We're going to be making some adjustments in how we're classifying positions going forward so that we can fill these positions more quickly. But going into the next fiscal year, assuming the budget that has been proposed by the governor and which has been replicated in each of the White House bills remains intact, I'm hoping that's going to be the case. We have every expectation that it will. We will be very tight next year. That budget. Mariana, do you have, is there a handout?
Yes.
What Mariana is taking out now is essentially a cash possession for the coming fiscal year, assuming we have the appropriation that's been proposed, which reflects the ask that we had in our proposed budget, which has been last fall, with a little bit of a cushion in it for mandatory increases and the like. Sorry about the type.
You know your audience. Still need that. My eyes haven't gone. Just a second.
We'll test your other number. But essentially what it shows is if we execute the staffing plan that we have in place with some of the incremental changes that we'll be proposing to commissioners in the next month or two, and we're going to be making adjustments really across the agency, and it will affect both classifications and the deployment of individuals in the agency. If we stage the hiring process, the projection, and Mariana can provide more detail on it, gets us to the end of the year with a small cushion of about $150,000, which is the delta more or less between our ask and what the proposal has been. So we're right on target if everything falls into place exactly the way we want it to fall into place.
So what's the difference?
And if everybody is comfortable with the proposed changes in staffing, Commissioner.
What's the proposed differential between the 2 years?
The proposed differential between the 2 years is about $279,000. We had asked for $149,000, and the proposed budget gave us a little bit more than that.
And tell me the major I'm sorry, it's already listed. Tell me the major categories that got funded.
Yeah, the major categories that changed. Were actually on the non-personal services side, and those reflected things like rent, cost of live streaming. We bought some additional equipment. We have some additional equipment to purchase. We're going to be buying a new system for case management for the investigation and enforcement division. And it's those kinds of things that are going up. And then, of course, the mandatory increases in pay. But the staffing plan that we had last year and the staffing plan for this year still looks at a headcount of approximately 68 individuals.
Okay, thank you.
That's like, how many vacancies do we have in our staffing plan now?
The total is
Vacancies, we have about 15.
15.
It's primarily investigation.
If I may, in which departments are they?
We have vacancies really across the agency. So it's a cumulative thing. We do have a couple of vacancies. We're going to be making a change as well in the investigation and enforcement division. As Gareth mentioned, we want to add to the audit and review group. We need to have vacancies for a long time, and it's part of our recruiting difficulty. We've had 3 vacancies in the training unit going forward. We moved some of the positions around, but we've been trying to recruit there. We have a vacancy in the Deputy Director of Administration. We have positions to fill literally across the agency. I mean, fortunately, we don't have a concentration so that it's impacting operations. Everyone is pitching in, and as you can see, we're getting more and more work done. Notwithstanding the fact that those positions aren't filled, but that's why we're going to be proposing some changes in grade and some other adjustments so that we can get those positions filled.
Vice Chair Austin, did you have a comment?
Right, I was going to say it certainly sounds, even being understaffed, although not to the same degree. The numbers in the operations report reflect a tremendous jump in the work done and the amount of accomplishment that's happened. So kudos to the staff who have really, even with less than they need, taken some major steps.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, on behalf of staff, thank you.
All right. More on the budget?
Not today. We will be coming back with more as we move forward. We have more extra, but we're only 2.5 weeks. So we don't have a report yet on the spend.
And then per diems. And let me just say, somebody.
One moment, Vice Chair. Vice Chair, you're not muted.
Tell him right now.
Vice Chair, you're not muted. Oh, no, I guess. All right.
Yes, per diems. One correction in the table that's in the book. It's in the footnote. It refers to November 29, 2023 commission meeting. Actually, the meetings that are included were the January commission meeting.
What are you looking
and
at?
the legislative working group. This is under tab E.
Oh. E.
So repeat that.
In the footnote.
Right.
For the time that's reflected in the per diems. It's not the November 29, 2023 meeting, but rather the January 2024 meeting of the commission, as well as January 2024 meeting of the legislative working group. And then the balance are for preparation time from May through December of 2023. And these will be posted, have been posted on the website. And it reflects the numbers generally that I reported at the last commission. balance from the 19,000 or so. I reported in February, together with the additional 24,000 or so. That was then pending, but these amounts were paid. Commissioner should have received those amounts earlier this month.
Questions, comments? All right. Well, I have on mine, did we not just do the ethics training report?
Yes.
The next item? All right. Anything else for this part of the public session?
Oh, let me just say, yes, I just wanted to say, and we mentioned it, the training report, the annual training report, calendar year 2023.
Yeah.
Last quarter of 2023, the first quarter of this year, is almost finalized. We'll be circulating it shortly to commissioners, and we would like to get it out well before the end of the month. That will bring us current in training reporting to the governor and to the legislature. So
this is sort of a cumulative report of all the reports we've been speaking about training.
Yes, it's the annual report. I think it's called for by the staff. You're receiving incremental updates. We provide a high level, as called for by the statute, quarterly report, and then an agency by agency report for the annual report to the governor and legislature.
Is it consistent with the strategic plan we put in place for our committees? Will the report be in response to that? Or is it a separate report?
It's a response to a law that's required.
So my question is, we came up with a strategic plan for achieving what was specified in the law.
I see.
And my question is it consistent?
It is. As I said, we are hitting our targets. It will show. And that's why I want to include the first quarter report as well in this annual distribution, because it will show that we hit our 2023 target of getting ACE training out to at least half the workforce, and that we're on track to, in this year, reach the second half of the workforce with at least one training. So those figures will show that we're on track. We still have more work to do, clearly. Assuming that momentum can be kept up, it means that the next step, which is to have 2 trainings administered to every state worker by the end of 2025, is achievable.
So
that would be superstitious, but assuming we do what we need to do, staff has been doing it, and that the agencies, continue to put in the effort they have been putting in to get this done.
Just as long as we can see it in the context of the strategic plan we put together.
Sure.
It would be helpful.
Other questions, comments? All right. Motion to adjourn to executive session pursuant to Public Officers Law, Section 185, Executive Law, Section 94, subsection 11, to address matters concerning employment of personnel and litigation and investigative and enforcement matter that is confidential pursuant to Section 94 of the Executive Law. So, Commissioner Cardozo, is there a second? Commissioner James, all those in favor of adjourning to executive session, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Ayes have it. We are adjourned to executive session, and we will.
You are live.
Thanks, everybody, and welcome back to this public session of the April 17th meeting of the New York State Commission on Ethics and Lobbying in Government. We're going to have a readout from the executive session, and then we'll get through as much of our agenda as we can in the next few minutes, and whatever we don't get through, we'll pick up at a future. So, Executive Director Burrow.
The readout from executive session is as follows. The Commission discussed matters relating to litigation and legal advice. The Commission discussed personnel matters. The Commission discussed informal guidance pursuant to Executive Law 94.7 and Part 932 of its regulations. And the Commission discussed steps in several investigative matters, closed 15 matters, including 2 carryover matters with the prior Commission, and 13 code matters, and discussed several other investigative matters.
Great, thank you. Questions or comments? All right, let's go to an update on our, I guess what it is, pending legislation that we have for the, before the state legislature.
And there we
have F under our, in our books.
Yes, the staff met with a number of members of the Assembly and Senate, as well as with representatives of the Executive Chamber. And Senator Schoolfist last week introduced several bills, following proposals that had been part of the Commission's legislative agenda. And those include bills that would provide for the electronic filing of financial disclosure statements, as well as lobbying filings, registration statements, and various reports. And in addition, a proposed amendment to the Open Meetings Law, which would permit advisory, not decisional committees and subcommittees of public bodies to hold their meetings virtually and online without requiring public access requirement in order for individuals attending remotely to participate electronically. It would require that meetings be conducted so that the public has a physical location they could go to access the necessary equipment, and also that meetings be conducted live streamed in real time. And that materials used in such meetings be posted online in advance of the meetings. And that's where we stand now. We are hopeful that there will be sponsors in the Assembly for those bills, and we're looking forward to doing what we can to advance them.
Mr. Cardozo.
Well, with respect to what we're going to do to advance them, are we waiting? Are we taking initiative, talking to, as we discussed at one of the earlier meetings, talking to other groups that might support this, such as county legislators who suffer under this existing law? Are we discuss whether someone like Fred, for example, should meet with either the legislators and or the second floor to explain the practical problems that the physical access requirement must be met and how it slows us down significantly? Are there any plans that either the commissioners or staff will take beyond where we are today?
Yeah, consistently with the commission's prior resolution, staff will be pulling the laboring oars on those initiatives. We have been in touch, and Emily can provide more information on this. We have been in touch with some of the groups we've been working with who have made similar proposals, analogous proposals for evaluating the bills that have now been introduced. We have circled back to the Assembly members or the offices of the Assembly members with which we had previously met to ascertain whether we can have sponsorship in the Assembly through those offices, and we will be circling back to the Chamber as well. And we do have 5 other proposals, and we're waiting to get responses from our initial meetings on those 5 in both chambers, in both the Assembly and the Senate.
Right.
So we are actively working on all of those fronts.
And we also have the good government groups, Albany reached out, and they're actually in the process of drafting bill memos to support both of the electronic filing bills, and they're looking at, they hadn't realized that the open meetings law bill had been introduced, so they're looking at that one now. They're going to get back to us on that if they're going to support that one. So that's positive, and we reached back out, like we said, to the Assembly folks that we met with, and they appreciated knowing that the bills have been introduced, and they're taking a look, and Senator Breslin's office is still looking at all of our bills, and said they would circle back too.
Are any of these incorporated in the current budget bill?
No.
Just curious.
One other question. you had sent out, distributed our pre-existing legislative agenda, but it doesn't have on it the open meetings law proposal. And I would suggest if you.
There is a version that is updated. I can resend it.
Well, not to me, because I know it is, but if we're distributing that generally, it certainly should be.
Oh, yes. No, it has the, all the folks we met with have the most current version, as do the good.
So I haven't seen the current version. What you sent us the other day was the one that from November that didn't have it.
I don't recall sending one to you recently, but I'll just make sure you all have the most recent.
Right. And then related to that, though, is you had suggested that the annual meeting that we're mandated to have would be rescheduled till the fall.
Till the fall or early winter.
But I think before we get criticized for not, because we had said originally we were going to have this earlier than we did last year. And I'm not saying that you're just suggesting we have it later is wrong, but I think we should get at least something out so that we don't get criticized.
I did speak to Rachel at reInvent Albany and let her know our timing. Now looks like the fall, and she was going to let all of her colleagues know. And she said that's actually better for them because the timing of the meeting last year was not favorable, so they liked the fall meeting.
But I think, for people who want to criticize us, I think the sooner we say that we've decided to have the annual meeting in the fall because of all the.
And we've said it in these. Yeah, we've said it in this meeting.
You're actually.
Yeah, you're previewing.
Items ahead, we're going to propose the timetable, which will include.
Okay.
The time for the public.
Enough said on this. Okay.
All right. Anything else on this legislative update? We're going to skip the legislative agenda. And we'll pick that up at a future meeting because hopefully we will get next year. If we can look at under tab 8, our proposed meeting schedule for the remainder for July 2024 through December 2024.
Yes, and we weren't asking for a vote at this meeting, but we will put it up with any changes that are required.
I would just suggest you put Albany or New York on the list so that we would know that. I'm not debating it, but I think.
No, right, absolutely. And the plan was to continue alternating between locations as we have to.
All right, and so we'll vote on these at the June meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
At the May meeting.
At the May meeting, I'm sorry. Now for a look for the next 5 minutes or so, and we will have a fuller discussion about this at a comprehensive review timeline that we ask staff to put together. We are instructed, if not mandated, to do a comprehensive review of rules and regs as it relates to the commission and its work. And Commissioner Ayers is leading that, supported by obviously the team here. So who wants to take
I think the staff is leading that, supported by the team here.
So who wants to walk through? You, Emily, or?
Whatever you want, Sandy.
And just as a preface, there was a robust discussion at the last commission meeting about the need not only to review the regulations and the statutes, the effectiveness of the overall structure, but also to have a comprehensive understanding of the advisory opinions, both on the lobbying side. There's still a few lobbying opinions that abide outside of or beyond the regulations or in addition to the regulations. There are a few there, but for the most part, it's on the ethics side that we have several hundred, over 350, I think, advisory opinions. And based on discussions I've had with a number of commissioners following that meeting, what we've proposed is to work on 2 tracks. On one track, under the guidance of Michael Sander, Director of Ethics, we'll have essentially Michael will conduct a master class on seminal ethics opinions that are out there, what they stand for, how they've been applied in other settings, and what their consequences are. And at the same time, on another track, we'll move forward with the overall examination of the statutes, the regulations, the advisory opinions as well, and the administration overall of the ethics and lobbying mechanisms in the state, beginning with a qualitative survey, which will be developed this month. One of the big projects, and I'll turn it over to Emily at this point, is to identify all of the individuals and entities whom we want to participate in this process to survey. And that's on both the lobbying side and on the ethics side. So we're reaching within state government as well as the government group, bar associations, other organizations, academics. Law enforcement in particular, other agencies with enforcement structures similar to or analogous or supplemental to ours. And then on the lobbying side, we have a whole additional community of interested parties to reach out to.
Yeah, so my office is well on the way to, based on the memo that staff had done, that was circulated to all of you a few meetings ago, started to identify who the actual people are and their email addresses. Taylor in my office has been working on that this week. We've determined that we can use SurveyMonkey for this. So as soon as we're ready to pull the trigger, we'll go. And I've developed draft surveys that right now, both for lobbying and for ethics, that are with staff to get their feedback. So we are on track to send them out in May, which will be good. And then do you want me to walk through the kind of the rest of the timeline?
Sure.
So we'll send out the surveys in May, give folks a few weeks to reply to them and send reminders, and then review the results in July and determine at that point if, now that we kind of have the whole range of issues, if we want to see how pervasive they are. And that's what the quantitative survey would be, to a greater field of people to see if they agree with what came out of the qualitative survey. So then we would develop that in June, send that out in July, review the surveys in August, use September to determine if we want an independent review of the survey results. And then the plan would be to release the survey results in October, ahead of holding a public hearing, probably in October or early November, that people would then be able to give us feedback on the survey results and what they found that would help guide us. And then depending on what the surveys find and what happens at the public hearing, would really determine kind of our next steps and how long that'll take. If there's a lot of changes, it'll take longer. If we're hearing there's minor tweaks that need to be done, it might be less, but that's why we kind of stopped it and after the public hearing, because we want to see what the surveys say and see what comes out of the public hearing before we say, yeah, we'll be done in February, because, we might need till December, the following December to do it. So that's as far as I could go out without making it up, so.
Circulate the survey to commissioners before.
Oh, yeah. Not ready yet, but for sure. Yep.
We're going to have an extra meeting in May where we can pick all of this up. But it's good to have this overview for how we're going to proceed. I would ask all of us to take a close look at it and give any feedback we have from Emily, and Sandy. We will discuss it further. We'll let the public know soon when we're going to do an additional meeting, at which we will also look at our structure and governance and continue to discuss some other issues as well. So with that, if there's no other business to come before us.
I just had, if I could, a really quick question for Sandy. Last time we had a public hearing, we had to tell the groups with respect to a number of their more significant suggestions that we needed more time to analyze that. And we weren't able to sort of take those additional suggestions up with things like, dual enforcement power with the State Division of Human Rights and mandatory reporting to us, things like that. Does this timeline, in your view, if we hold the public hearing in October, if we get legislative agenda suggestions that call for significant analysis by the staff, will we have time to consider, will staff have time to analyze those suggestions for consideration in time for it to make the 2025 legislative agenda, or am I mixing things up?
No, I would like them to be mixed up, at least from my perspective. I understand if everyone agrees. I disagree.
We have a plan. We have a plan.
I would actually like to incorporate consideration of those proposals as part of the assessment we're doing.
Yeah.
Particularly those that you've just mentioned. There's some others there as well.
Right.
But they ought to be part of the same process. It doesn't make a lot of sense. It's going to be inefficient to split them a different way.
We have the 4 or 5, right, that we are still looking at. So those definitely, we're going to do our homework and trying to figure out if they should be on this year's legislative agenda. And I anticipate they'll be coming up at a future meeting, I'm guessing. And then the ones that we get in October, I think it'll be a mixed bag. I think some maybe will and some maybe won't. So it'll really depend. But based on what we have, and I do expect items for our current legislative agenda to be on next year's as well. And at some point, you get a legislative agenda that has 20 items and you're like, let's pull back. What's our priorities for this year? So we'll be positioned to do that with some of them, but I can't make the promise all of them. So.
All right, we're going to need to adjourn because we have people who actually have a train in a few minutes. So, motion to adjourn. Commissioner Carvalho, Commissioner Edwards. All those in favor of adjourning this meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
Those no. Thanks to everyone, public. Thank you, staff. Thank you, commissioners. And we will alert you soon as to when we will have a meeting. Thank you. The meeting's adjourned.
Emily?